Hey everybody, I'm live. This is John Hope Bryant, and I'm live with you on Facebook Live. This is the Civil Rights Series, unbought, unbossed, unbiased, coming to you straight and no chaser, this time from New York City. Again, I'm John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope, the nation and the world's first and largest nonprofit financial services network for the poor, the working class, the struggling class, the teetering class, folks with too much month at the end of their money. This is more relevant after the election than it was before. But I'm going to do a whole series on how to survive in the next 4 years coming up. So I'm not going to get with that today. I'm also the author of several books, bestsellers, Love Leadership, The New Way of Leading a Fear-Based World, and How the Poor Can Save Capitalism. I'm very proud today to say that we've been selected by the American Banker as the Innovator of the Year, the first African American in U.S. history, and 180 years of the American Banker ever to be selected for this role. But I think it's particularly important today not to talk about my successes, but to talk about my failures, to talk about where I screwed up, where I blew it, and I've got many of them. I have screwed up relationships. I've screwed up in my family. I've screwed up in my business. I was homeless for 6 months of my life when I was 18 years old. I don't know if you guys know that story, but I lived it. For those in LA signing in, I see hello, Edward Scott and Sin and Hassan signing in, and Kolokita and my cousin Rakita and Devontae Hunt, hello. Zena Knox, hey Zena. Renee Love, and all of you heroes and sheroes that are signing in from around Beverly Rice, I love you. From here in New York and in Atlanta and LA and around the world, hey Shalene. I'm going to acknowledge you in my comments later, but I want you to know that I'm live, which is why one of the reasons I acknowledge you by voice. And you're talking to me. And when you see comments, it's directly from me. No staff is doing it. I comment on these videos directly. So again, I want to talk about my failures, not my so-called successes, because success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. You've got to learn how to manage pain in this life. Otherwise, you can't live a successful life unless you can successfully manage pain. So I told you about being homeless, and if anybody lives in LA, Latier and Airport, that was my home. I lived in that parking lot in a Montero Jeep for 6 months of my life. But God don't make dirt. And you can't fall from the floor. And God made you unique and special and singular. No one has your fingerprints anywhere in the world. It is only you. So even though you may screw up and fall down, that does not make you a screw up and that you are meant to stay down. It means that is preparing you as a setup for what comes next in your life, the transformation in your life, because rainbows only follow storms. So let me get to the lessons here of how I screwed up, the many times I screwed up and how I got over it. And I'll take some comments and some questions as I get into this. It's 10 rules. The first rule of how I screwed up was really all mouth, okay? So if you're 18 years old, you think you know everything. And this applied to me. I was all mouth. So here's the first lesson. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen twice as much as you talk. I'm going to repeat that. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen twice as much as you talk. But that's not what I did. I ran my mouth all the time because I thought I knew everything, because I thought I had all the answers, like every other 18-year-old thinks you have all the answers. Talking back to your mother, talking back to your uncle, yeah, blowing people off, yeah, it ain't nothing. I've got the answer. Yeah, you're gonna be smarty pants and brokey pants, because that was me. I went from living in a beach house in Malibu, California, flossing like one of these hip hop stars. I was an actor, not a very good one, in Hollywood, to living in my Jeep. I had lost everything. And then they will listen after they lose everything, but that is the wrong time. So you've got to shut your mouth and open your ears and know that at 18 years old, you don't know a thing, which leads to the second point. I had mistaken knowledge for wisdom. So knowledge comes from books. Even if you're smart enough to read a book, and I encourage you to, although most of us are reading magazines and just getting all our data from this these days, you should read a book. Like, we don't need 40 acres and a mule. We need 40 books in a bank account today. But even if you read a book, that's just knowledge. Wisdom comes from life experiences. Wisdom comes from falling down and getting back up again. Any single mother here watching this video raising her children, going to work every day, coming home and struggling with trying to live to make dinner and deal with homework and all that kind of stuff, and spend time with their family and still have time with themselves, and get up the next morning and do it all over again, and who's one paycheck away from poverty. That's what I said. 40% of all Amerians have less than $2,000 in savings. A third of all Americans would have to sell their car to raise $3,000. People are living just on the edge. Well, wisdom comes from experiences. It comes from scrapes and scraps and getting over it, around and through it. In fact, we've been doing so much with so little for so long, we can almost do anything with nothing. This is the story of Black America can teach to the rest of the world. We are survivors. We've been doing, this is a message for everybody, by the way, but I'm going to give you a gift from Black America. We've been doing so much with so little for so long, we can almost do anything with nothing. Amen. Okay? So, wisdom. And why do I hang around older people? Why do I hang around Ambassador Andrew Young? Besides the fact he's our Nelson Mandela in the United States of America, hung around Dr. King, was there on the balcony with him when he was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. Living history. Mayor, of Atlanta 2 terms, congressman 2 terms, 135 honorary doctorate degrees, co-chair of the Atlanta Olympic Games. I mean, Dr. King's senior age. Just a big baller shot caller. Reverend Murray in L.A., who raised me in my adult life, who told me it's not what people call you, it's what you answer to that's important. And never answer out of your name, John Bryant. And then I said, to argue with a fool proves there are two. He taught me to love myself. He taught me to be comfortable in my own skin. He taught me to embrace myself. Reverend Dr. Cecil Chip Murray, Ambassador Suguro Yuzawa out of Japan, another mentor. Dr. Dorothy Height, who has since passed on to glory. She's been promoted. The president of the National Council of Negro Women, who paid off, had the only building on Pennsylvania Avenue owned by a Black woman. Paid off that building. She once told me, and she'd served, I think, 12 presidents. She said, John, I like you because you're a dreamer with a shovel in your hands. You're a dreamer with a shovel in your hands. So I've hung around older people to gain wisdom because they have been where I'm trying to go. They have been where I'm trying to go. So shut up your mouth and open your ears, and all of these seniors around you are really gold mines for you to get all of this knowledge from, and we are dismissing it as if it has no value, as if somebody over 65 is somehow out to pasture. No, their life's not over. It's just beginning. I mean, Moses was 80 before he did anything. He didn't know what he was doing until he was 80. Mandela went to prison at age 47. Stayed there 27 long years, came out and then changed the world, right? You can't do nothing when you're young but run fast and embarrass yourself, okay? Actually, you can do a lot of stuff if you learn to close your mouth and open your ears and hustle hard. Okay, so my mistake number 2 was that I didn't understand the power of wisdom, and I understand it now. And I see you guys signing on, and Jonathan Palmer says, say it, brother. Okay, I'm going to get through these points, and then I'll answer some questions. You guys enjoying this, by the way? Let me know with some thumbs up if you like this particular video. I'm unpacking my own pain, my own insecurities, my own fears, my own mistakes. By the way, I failed just last week. I applied for credit, and I'm so used to getting what I want in the credit markets. Okay, you do like this. Okay, good, thank you. I applied for credit online, which I never do. I was turned down. The innovator of the year for the American banker, the guy who runs Operation Hope around the world, who talks about 700 credit scores, blah, blah, blah. Listen to me now. I was turned down for credit. I looked at the computer screen. I'm like, is that computer right? Now, life is 10% what life does to you. This is a bonus lesson here. Life is 10% what life does to you and 90% how you choose to respond to it. So what's your response going to be? That's why I say you can't be angry for a living. That's why I say you don't want to be emotional when you're making decisions. Now, when I got that notice over the computer, it said, you've been declined. Our reviewers have reviewed your file. You'll get a notice in the mail in 30 days. Most people be angry, be upset, throw the computer or something, curse at the wall, maybe even say it's racism and discrimination and bias. No, first of all, the computer don't know who I am. So I saw it was 4:58. The office was going to close. I went and found the phone number. I got my file number, called the office. Luckily, somebody answered. And I said, can I speak to one of your counselors? It appears that I was declined for a credit. I think there'd been a misunderstanding, probably mine, right? So I didn't blame them. They transferred me, talked to a counselor who pulled up my file. Yes, you've been declined. I explained my situation. Explained my, as they say, explained my situation. I explained my situation to a counselor. It turned out that there was a misunderstanding on my file, that some debt that Operation Hope owes that I take responsibility for showed up on my file. Took my ratios were out of whack, affected my credit score. Okay. And once I discussed it, they said, well, let me think about this. Let me talk to my manager tomorrow. So it wasn't an automatic yes, even though I am supposedly who I am. So I had to wait overnight. I didn't get upset with the person. In fact, I said, look, I understand you're doing your job, right? And so, but what would have happened if I got angry? What would have happened if I called them names? What would have happened if I accused them of discrimination or racism or bias? Click, hang up the phone, file mark, no, and never allow this person to have credit again. Because thoughts are things, and whatever goes around comes around. You put negative energy out, you get negative energy back. The next morning I get a call at 9 in the morning from the manager saying, we reviewed your file again with additional context, you are approved. You see, rainbows do follow storms. And I'm going to get to this lesson here in a minute, but what would have happened if I had given up or had a bad attitude or assumed the worst in people? I gave them the benefit of the doubt. So here's another bonus lesson taught to me by Reverend Dr. Cecil Chip Murray. Here's a lesson for success. Talk without being offensive. Listen without being defensive. And always leave even your adversary with their dignity. Because if you don't, they'll spend the rest of their life trying to make you miserable. I'm going to repeat that. Please write this down. Write this down. Tell your children. Tell those you love. Put this on your wall. Talk without being offensive. Listen without being defensive. And always leave even your adversary with their dignity. Otherwise, it becomes personal, and they will never let you live it down. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I think you like that. I see the positive marks there. Okay, let me get down to the number 3 rule. I had mistaken busyness for business. All these folks in entertainment do this. My young entrepreneurs do this. People run around buying Mercedes with Mercedes payments. Mercedes payments. They've written a Mercedes they can't afford, written an office they can't afford, going to conferences and events and going to clubs, trying to floss. They figure they buy a suit, they buy a car, get a car, go to fancy restaurants, go to take meetings, as we used to say, that's business. No, that's busyness, not business. When your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead will be your downfall. I'm going to repeat. When your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead will be your downfall. And my dad, God rest his soul, an amazing man, role model for me in many ways, was unfortunately very guilty of this. He would bid jobs as a contractor in South Central LA, cement contractor. He just wanted to win the job no matter what it was. He was financially illiterate. I didn't realize it. So the job cost $1,000. If the last guy before him bid $1,000, my dad would bid, $950. But my dad didn't know what the materials costs were. He just wanted to win the job. He thought the cash flow was profit. Listen now, my dad mistakenly thought the cash flow was profit. It is not. Remember, if your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead will be your downfall. If you got more going out than you got coming in, it's sooner or later you're just going to go broke. If you're making $1 and spending $1.50, you will be broke. You'll just be broke bigger, okay? So my dad would bid the job at $950 to win the job, and after 5 or 10 of those jobs, you're now paying for the last job with new money. That's called a Ponzi scheme. Now, my dad was not a Ponzi scheme dude, but that's how a Ponzi scheme works, is you're ending up paying for tomorrow's promise with yesterday's money, yesterday's promise with tomorrow's money, and you can't catch up. So my dad actually went broke slowly, and he actually lived in an apartment building I had to build for him for the last 15 years of his life. He ran a business for 54 years because he didn't understand the language of money, and he was brilliant and a hard-working dude. So don't mistake busyness for business. And understand that being wealthy is not about money. Being rich is about money. Being wealthy is about a mindset. So being wealthy is not about what you make. It's about what you keep. Wink, wink. Being wealthy is about not what you make. It's about what you keep. Right? You got to make sure that you are saving and compound. That's why I told you about that stock app, Loyal 3, where I've got a $16,000 balance on very modest, a few bucks here, a few bucks, $25 a month, but it's compounding on itself. And so you're not living to work, you're not living to pay your bills. You can take $100 a month and invest it in a very modest a fractional investment account like Loyal 3 or another one. Charles Schwab has one as well. And for a very small amount of money, you can begin buying stocks in companies that are making money for you when you're asleep, and then when their stock goes up, your value goes up, and that's one way you can become wealthy. Also, buy a home, don't rent, because when it accumulates, you get the benefit of that. And when you can also write the mortgage payment off your taxes, you cannot write rent off your taxes. I'm getting off the message. Are you guys enjoying this? Tell me. Let me know if you want me to continue. I don't want to waste your time, but you never want to be the old guy in the club, okay? When you never want people to ask you to go, right? You're enjoying this? Okay, yes. All right, cool, got it. All right, number 4, I have not learned a thing from my past. This was a big lesson. I hadn't learned a thing from my past, from my dad's stories, which basically I just told you, so I won't repeat that. The fact that we owned a gas station at Vernon and Western, southwest corner. If you know southeast corner, if you know South Central LA, you know that corner, still there. We owned an apartment building on Martin Luther King Boulevard, was Santa Barbara. We owned our own home, a cement contracting business, a nursery. So we were balling. Mom and Dad were balling, but my dad wouldn't listen to my mother. My mother was a financial genius. Dad had lots of hustle, so did my mother. And so we lost it all. We lost the gas station, the apartment building. That building we bought for $18,000 would be worth $5 million today. But we lost it. That would have been the endowment for his children, us, and I wouldn't be taking care of him, he'd be taking care of us, and we'd have an investment fund to invest in the businesses or the futures or the trust funds or the education for our children. But because my dad had too much pride, in that example, we lost it all. Ambassador Andrew Young says that men and women fail for 3 reasons: arrogance, pride, and greed. I'm giving you guys a lot to go on here, but you can watch this again later. Number 5. Coming down with a case of seriousness. The one thing Andrew Young taught me more than anything else is do not take yourself seriously. Quincy Jones also took me, do not take yourself seriously. Take life seriously. Do not take yourself seriously. Hey, you're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as bad as you think you are. There's somebody just as bad as you that lived 20 years ago, and there's somebody just as bad as you that's going to live 20 years from now. Only with God's grace do you become enlightened and amazing. Stop thinking that you're the end all be all. You stink. You stop taking a bath for 3 days. I guarantee you will stink. I don't care how much cologne you use or how good your clothes. If you stop taking a bath, you will stink. So you're just like everybody else. You're not as good as your compliments. You're not as bad as your criticisms. You are who you are. Just have some grace and some style about yourself. Have some humility about yourself, which is different from being humble, I might add. Have some humility about yourself and understand you don't know everything. Take life seriously. Do not take yourself seriously. There's nothing more unattractive than a person who is taking themselves seriously. Walking around with sunglasses on at night. You know these rap stars, they got one hit, okay? I had one hit. And by the way, I love music, so I'm not hitting on rap stars. It's just such an easy target. They got one hit, got sunglasses on, walking around, don't want anybody to see him, got 4 bodyguards. Here's Stevie Wonder, who deserves to have some sunglasses on because he can't see technically, and he's the coolest guy around with no bodyguards, no drama. Here's Quincy Jones, no drama. All the real iconic people, they're just easy breezy, nicest people in the world, because when you got the power, you don't need to use it. It is all these wannabe stars running around, oh, don't talk to me, come on now, you got in this business so that people would talk to you and about you and hunt you down. Now you want to act like you're not interested in it. Taking yourself too seriously, which then leads me to the lesson 6, karma is real. Whatever goes around, comes around. The universe has a perfect accounting system. Whatever goes around, comes around. So if you're a toe-up, dirty dog, badass, ugly, bad attitude, negative person, then don't be surprised if that's exactly what you get. If you hating on somebody else, then don't be surprised that some folks are going to end up hating on you. If you tripping up on somebody else, don't be surprised if folks trip you when you walk through a door or dogging you as you go through around the corner. But by the way, it don't matter if people talk about you. People talk about me. The question is, what's your karma? Because the universe has a perfect accounting system. You put negative out, I guarantee you're going to get negative back. I think the greatest sin in the world is judgment and non-forgiveness. Judgment and non-forgiveness. Judgment and non-forgiveness. If you want to have a little grace, you better show a little mercy. So mercy is when some SOB who's done something wrong doesn't get what they do deserve, a rear end whipping. And grace is when you and me do get what we don't deserve, which is a blessing that we didn't pay for, a blessing that we didn't pay forward, a blessing that we didn't appreciate, recognize, or sometimes even ask for. But because we've been good people, God endows us with opportunity, and the universe is sort of on the wind against your back, because the universe is made for good and we learn bad. Darkness is only defined by light. Badness is failed goodness. That's why hope is so powerful that the University of Illinois study proved that in the book The Tipping Point, that at 5% role models, every community stabilizes. Not 80% role models, not 50% role models, not 20% role models, just 5%. Hope is so powerful. You just need a super minority of it to change the world. Don't take yourself seriously, and don't put out bad karma. Don't hate on people, don't hate about people, don't want what somebody else wants. God never gave anybody else something he wanted me to have. That's going to be my quote for this week, one of these weeks. God never gave anybody else anything he wanted me to have. So why am I going to be hating on somebody else? Why am I going to be player hating somebody else? And by the way, I'm going to tell you something else. If you got what you want, you may not want what you got. I'm going to repeat it. If you got what you think you wanted, you may not want what you actually got, because it wasn't intended for you. I'm going to tell you something else. You put a solution on a problem, because before the problem is ready to have a solution, you just create a bigger problem, because it wasn't God's intention. I'm not preaching you here. It wasn't the universe's intention. It was yours. It was your mind taking yourself seriously, not listening, running your mouth, thinking that you're smarter than everybody else. And the universe, what's it? God don't like ugly. He ain't too fond of pretty. Okay. Number 7, I'm almost through this. I can never, ever, ever give up. This is what saved me more than anything. This is a Calvin Coolidge quote. More than smarts, more than PhDs, more than degrees. This is why poor people are the salvation of the world. This is why poor people have created every big company you've ever thought of. Walmart, created by a man, Sam Walton, with a pickup truck and a storefront and a high school education, but he had hustle. He never gave up. Over the rounded to it, I'm gonna get through it. Over the wall, under the wall, through the wall. I tell people, don't stand in front of me. Don't stand between me and what I'm supposed to do. You gonna get run over. I will apologize in advance. There's nothing more powerful than persistence. Nothing. Brilliance will not champion it. Education will not trump it. Elitism will not be better than it. Nothing is better than persistence. Because when you're sleeping, I'm working. An entrepreneur works 18 hours a day to keep from getting a job. Hello, I will clock you. Put in a bunch of PhDs and master's degrees around a conference room table, and I will clock every one of you, because I'm going to outrun you, outwork you, outthink you, outhustle you, because poor people have to create a new dynamic, because no one's going to give you anything, and everybody is underestimating you anyway. Nobody ever gave me credit for what I could do. They always said, oh, that's John Bryant, that financial literacy stuff. You're not laughing now, are you? God don't like ugly. All right, number... I noted here when I was homeless, I had to say racism didn't make me homeless. The white man didn't make me homeless. The university didn't make me homeless. My parents didn't make me homeless. I did that, and I had to own that before I could claim my victory, right? You can't run around being a victim. You got to be a victor in your life, which doesn't mean you haven't been victimized. Doesn't mean that somebody's not playing you. But as I said earlier in another video, racism is sort of like rain. It's either falling someplace or it's gathering. So you might as well get out an umbrella in a color you like and start strolling through it, because it's not going to change, so you must. Life is 10% what life does to you, and 90% how you choose to respond to it. That's why my new definition of poverty, please go to your internet and type in the Hope Doctrine on Poverty, print out that graph and put it on your wall. Print it out for your co-workers, because you don't want to be hanging around negative energy. Give it to your kids, your co-workers, your friends, your siblings. The Hope Doctrine on Poverty, because poverty has nothing to do with money. Half of poverty is low self-esteem and lack of confidence in yourself. If you don't know who you are by 9 in the morning, by dinner time, somebody's going to tell you who you are. Half of poverty, low self-esteem and lack of confidence in yourself. The second part of poverty, 25%, crappy role models in a crappy environment. So everybody's aspirational, right? But if all you see in your neighborhood is symbols of success are rap stars, athletes, and drug dealers, then why is anybody surprised that kids grow up wanting to be a rap star, an athlete, or a drug dealer because they're modeling what they see? Now, I've said rap stars so many times here. Somebody will say, John, why is John hating on rap stars? I'm not. I'm just tired of poor people picking this as their number one, number two, and number three occupation. There's only like, a few hundred of them that are even making a living at it, and they typically don't do it for more than 5 years. And the athletes, God bless them, 70% of all NFL players bankrupt after 5 years of retirement. 84% of NBA players bankrupt 5 years after retirement. And there's only 3,000 professional sportsmen in the entire sports. You cannot have 35 million black people, 45 million Latinos or more, and another 50 million other people, white and Asian, trying to be 3,000 professional sportsmen and women whose career is not going to be a Michael Jordan career in most cases. It's going to be the B player and the C player making less than you make as a dentist in 10 years' time, and having no control of your destiny once the team is through with you and the tabloids are through with you and all the money has run away from you, and now the women and the guys don't want anything to do with you, and you broke as hell and your credit is toe up, and now you working at Starbucks and people are laughing at you because you dropped out of school because you thought that you didn't need an education, you were just going to be a rap star or an athlete, and now you find you were just used. I'm tired of us just rocking a mic, hitting the bass, a basketball, a baseball, or dancing. I want us to own the game and not just play in the game. As Quincy Jones told me, if you think you're in the music business and you don't own any publishing rights or writing rights, you're actually not in the music business, you're just a temporary performer. Hello, music business, the business of music. I told you behind everything is money. You're not listening to me yet. You're about to in the next 4 years. It's about to get heavy up in here with this new administration that you're going to have to become self-empowered, I guarantee you. This is the civil rights movement. Okay, let me see if I can get to these. Lesson number 8, I learned to overcome my fears. I can't stress this enough. The devil is a punk, and fear ain't nothing. You gotta overcome your fears. Mostly the thing to fear is fear itself. I mean, okay, I'm gonna fail. Okay, well, one thing's worse than failure if you haven't succeeded. I mean, how do you fail if you haven't succeeded? Try over it, around it, through it. You got to get to it. If the worst thing you'll do is fall, you'll get up, because loss creates leaders and rainbows only follow storms. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. Hello. And it builds character and it makes you a better person. You redouble your efforts, and after a while, no one can stop you. You learn to take no for vitamins, and then people start admiring the fact that you're resilient. And what am I really trying to do at Operation Hope? I'm building resilient people, leaders for a new generation who won't take no for an answer, who are not a victim, who are victors, who are reintroduced back to themselves because God made you amazing. He made every one of you special. But over time, we get the hope beaten out of us. We get the optimism beaten out of us. We start to believe the crap that we can't do it, and we're less than somebody else, and we can't succeed. And sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's your so-called friends telling you what you cannot do. And like a plague, you need to get away from those people, or at least shut them down and stop listening to that. Out of love, sometimes we pass down bad habits from generation to generation. Out of love, somebody who hurt people. If somebody around you is negative, they're not going to give you positive because they don't have it in them. They can only give you what they got. So out of love, we pass down bad habits from generation to generation. If you grew up in a housing tenement and you didn't teach your children any different, guess where they want to grow up? If you're a drug dealer and you don't teach your child any different, guess what he wants to grow up to be? If you're on a stripper pole and you don't teach your child any different, guess what she wants to be? If you're a prostitute and you name your little girl Precious, and you name your little girl Salacious, what do you think she's going to be? Why are you shocked? You hang around 9 broke people, I guarantee you'll be the 10th. Whatever you hang around, you will be. And so you got to watch your environment. Poverty definition. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is economic, but being poor is a disabling frame of mind, a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never to be poor again. Can't you tell I believe in you? Can't you tell I love you? That I know that you're going to help to redeem and inspire America and in nations. I know you're watching all around the world, South Africa and other places on the African continent, Latin America, Asia, Europe, the Middle East. Don't you know that I believe that you will bring in a new generation of leadership because God made us to win. But we can't lose hope, and we're starting to have a world that's depressed, that's distressed, that's losing hope, and the most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. So I'm trying to pump some air back into your ball. In the midst of all this despair, you need to understand that still we rise. Maya Angelou, still we rise. Okay, I'm wrapping this up. Lesson number 9, the untapped value of compounded hustle. I sort of already said this, but when you don't have compounded interest, which is how most people get rich, how the rich stay rich, is money making more money. So when you're sleeping, their money is making money for them by investing overseas. You got to have the magic of compounded hustle, which means the definition of your life, like an entrepreneur, must be this. An entrepreneur works 18 hours a day to keep from getting a job, okay? I hustle. You see, I'm not sitting around reading magazines and popping bonbons and reading articles about how so-called great I am. I just got the award for the American Banker Innovator of the Year. And the next day I was on the road again, and I'm in New York today, and I'll be in Washington, back in Atlanta tomorrow. I have an event tomorrow evening. Then I'm back on a plane to Washington, D.C. Then I'm in meetings all day on Washington on Thursday. Then I have an event with Andrew Young on Thursday night. Then Friday morning I'm on a plane to San Francisco. And I have meetings all day in San Francisco. But see, and then half my weekend is business. But only in the dictionary does the word success come before the word work, because it's alphabetical. So don't let anybody tell you that you can get success without work. It does not. You can't have. You try to have success without work with your children, you're going to end up with a bunch of thugs and gangsters and fools. You try to have a household without work, and you're going to have dishes piling up in the sink. You try to have a work without work, and you end up getting laid off or replaced by a computer. Whatever you want in your life is going to drive you crazy, and you have to work for it. Nothing good comes easy. Nothing good comes easy. That's why rainbows only follow storms. The last point is becoming reasonably comfortable in your own skin. So out of all this pain of being homeless and failures and all the things, I learned lessons. I try to go to bed tonight better than I was when I woke up this morning. It breaks my heart. People are going through the motions in their life. They're not reflecting. They're not thinking. They're just going through the motions, and they pop their fingers and 5 years has passed. They're older and they're no wiser. They're no smarter. They're not reading books. They're not curious. We have the death of curiosity today, the death of authenticity, the death of integrity, the death of truth, the death of curiosity, of people wanting to know what's the real answer. God wants you to question him. He wants you to be curious, but don't be cynical. Be skeptical, because when you're cynical, you've lost hope. People saying, capitalism ain't nothing. That's just a bunch of food. This man's selling you a bunch of hogwash. What did Malcolm X say? You've been bamboozled. You've been fooled. You've been tricked. And he was absolutely right. I'm sort of a combination of Martin Luther King Jr., Andrew Young, Malcolm X, Steve Jobs, Frederick Douglass, a little Dorothy Height, and some Abraham Lincoln tossed in. You have got to understand that capitalism is everywhere. You have a job, you're using your human capital to make a paycheck, so they're paying you for your human capital. That's a return. Your paycheck is a return on your investment. Your barber is a capitalist. My man Keith, who cuts my hair, is a capitalist. Your nail technician is a capitalist. Anybody who is in your life who is somebody taking care of those not nasty, but those knucklehead kids of yours. I'm sure they're not nasty. Those knucklehead kids of yours, and you know they drive you crazy every Tuesday, even though you love them. You're paying them because it's a job. Anybody in your life, the person who owns a gas station is a capitalist. The person who runs the grocery store is a capitalist. Most capitalists live next door to you, but we run our mouths talking about we hate capitalism. Even that inanimate object called a parking meter, sitting out in front of your house right now, sitting out in front of your job, has figured out capitalism when we have not. It's making money. That inanimate object is making money off of you, and we about capitalism, and that parking meter has figured it out when we haven't. It's making money, and they're not doing a thing, just sitting there chilling. Wouldn't you like to do that? Wouldn't you like to have more coming in that's going out? Wouldn't you like to take control of your life again? That's why the Freedmen's Bank is so important. Of 1865, Abraham Lincoln chartered to teach free slaves about money. That's why I'm going to finish what Lincoln started with the Freedmen's Bank, with my Hope Inside movement. That's why we're going to put Hope Inside inside of grocery stores, big box retailers, houses of faith, government offices, where people flock, stop, and shop to help you take your life back, raise your credit score, because nothing changes your life more than God or love today than moving your credit score 120 points. We're going to make you a civil rights leader in the suites and not just the streets. We're going to show you how to think from the head up, not just react from the shoulders down. We're going to help you not just run this game and certainly not have the game run you, but master this game called life. Don't get mad, get even. And learn from your mistakes. Admit your transgressions. Admit that you're not perfect, because we know it anyway. I'm not perfect. That's all I've done. I told you what you know already. A saint is a sinner that got up. A saint is a sinner that got up only because of our sins, only because of our insecurities, only because of our imperfections. Can other people relate to you? If you were perfect, no one could relate to you. And now that I've shared this with you, you now don't have to be ashamed that you've had problems when you know I had a 500 credit score at one point. I was almost bankrupt at one point, when I was homeless at one point, but still I rise. And now I'm running a global enterprise. What can you do? I think you can do better. I want you to do better. This is the John Hope Bryant Facebook Live Straight Talk series, Unbought and Unbossed, coming to you straight, no chaser, from New York City. Loving you for no other reason than your potential, because I believe in you, because I know that you're going to help us change the world. We're sitting in a moment in history, but history never feels historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't be a punk because somebody's watching you. Watching you live your life, maybe the only Bible anybody else reads. Maybe a couple questions. I want to do better, Audrey says. Najuma, nice. Michael Souza, Felicia Outse, Mr. Brian, I finally caught you live after meeting you in person in Chattanooga. Hey, Felicia, this is awesome. Still I rise. I remember meeting you and taking a picture with you. Greg Williams, Rise Above. Coco Twist, love you back. I love you. Goodwin Naya Badza, that's Africa. He said, I feel pumped. Good. Jonathan Palmer, awesome word, John. Tracy Smith, sending you love and light. Back at you. Sandy Lewis, thank you for your encouragement. Thank you. Raquel, Faith Johnson, Terry Glenn. Okay, I'm going to respond to all these notes after I get back from dinner. Tonight I have dinner here in New York City with the Crown Prince of Norway, Håkon Magnus, my brother from another mother, who is here with the team, John Osborne and others from Global Dignity, me and Crown Prince Håkon of Norway and Professor Pekka Himanen of Finland co-founded Global Dignity. Look that up on the internet, support it. That's in 79 countries. Be a dreamer. Take your life back. Believe that all things are possible. Be the change you want to see in the world. Prove that fear is a punk. I'm out. I love you.